Good. Yeah. Good.
Hello, John.
Hello, Warren.
So today we're going to talk about St. Thomas Aquinas. It comes from our last video we did there on Dr. Egner, the neurosurgeon who proves the existence of a soul. So St. Thomas Aquinas has what's called the five ways, and the five ways are motion, causation, contingency, degrees of perfection, and design. And this is what he talks about to prove the existence of God. He uses the five ways. So, motion, if we look at motion, everything in motion was moved by something else. To avoid an endless chain, there must be a first mover. And Thomas says that's God. Causation, every effect has a cause, but we can't have infinite causes. There must be a first cause, therefore, it was God. Contingency, things come and go, but everything can be temporary. Everything can be temporary. There must be a necessary being that always exists. And then he says that's God. Number four, degrees of perfection. We recognize things as more or less good, true, or noble. That means there must be a highest standard of goodness. And again, he asserts that that's God. Design. Um, the universe shows order and purpose even in non-living things. This points to an intelligent designer. And again, he says this is God. So St. Thomas Aquinas, he died on 12, in the 1274. He actually died. So he's dead a long time. But he was a very, very, very smart man. And was his arguments that why the reasons to believe in God.
Right. And I think he's a doctor of the church. And another one that that's a doctor of the church that was even earlier, and that's Saint Augustine. He also was on the same way. He was an unbeliever, and then he came around. His mother Monica prayed for him, but we're talking about Saint Thomas Aquinas. He's a theologica, Summa Theologica, I think was what he wrote, and it's a book that I intend to get. It's apparently hard gone, but I mean any good book is often hard gone, and I'm going to try and get it. And it's a book that I'd love to read, to understand and to follow, because he used logic in a great sense to prove God's existence. And you are highlighting five reasons that St. Thomas Aquinas um, indicated the existence of God. Now, there's no question or doubt about it, that when you're born, you're made in the image and likeness of God, and when you're baptized, if you're been in the Catholic faith or your parents, and you're baptized as a baby, you're baptized, uh, and you're that's put you're made in the image and likeness of God even as a baby, and you're dependent on your parents to look after you and bring you up. And mine did a good job, thank God, and I'm still here as a result of whatever it is that they imparted, and I was the first. And I have just a sister now alive. The two brothers are gone to their maker, and my sister is doesn't have the best of health. She has a touch of arthritis, but we're talking about the business of Saint Thomas Aquinas. I don't want to stray, and because of what he wrote, people that want to sort of discover the sort of arguments that he used, then they're able to believe, if they haven't been brought up in the, say, the Catholic faith the way I was, and the way my friends, fortunately, when I was young, they weren't going astray in different ways as I'm afraid to do now. So with the result that you had that foundation, and irrespective of what the pluses and the crosses that you come across as you go through life, you don't escape them, no matter what way you try to do it. When you have that foundation, you're able to sort of handle it. That's the beauty of recognizing that you have a soul and to do something about it. That means practice your faith. If you're a Catholic, practice it. If you're a Protestant, practice what and believe what you believe. If you dig a bit deeper, you might find that the Catholic faith is the one true holy and apostolic faith. St. Thomas Aquinas demonstrated that in his writings, and we would our Christian TV Ireland and what you've the marvelous uh, inquiries that you've made about Saint Thomas Aquinas and what he and there's five theological points to the existence of God. These are things that we want to pass on to others if they're any way confused, to go forward in confidence and joy and seek our Lord and with your prayers and so on and so on, the practice of your faith, if you're a Catholic, practice it, if you're a Protestant, practice it, and so on and so forth. And that's the way you can save your immortal soul, because as Saint Thomas Aquinas ably demonstrated, the proof that you have a soul and that it's immortal. And it's recognized that you, in due course, your body might be reunited. Now, it's hard to figure that out. You can't use logic about that. But this is what, if you when you're reading the Bible, Jesus apparently said that. But in the meantime, the soul is the one that goes to heaven. So it's you. Your soul is you have a soul. I have a soul. Everybody has a soul. So there must be some way of them going to heaven when you live as good a life as you possibly can. You see, and St. Thomas developed that, and you summarize it there very well with the five theological
The five
reasons
ways, yeah.
that he made out the existence of God, and
I
we have
think,
to take his arguments as correct.
yeah,
Yeah.
he wrote the Summa Contra Gentiles is one of the St. Thomas Aquinas' major works written between 1259 and 1265. While his Summa Theologica that you mentioned earlier on was mainly for teaching Christian students, the Summa Contra Gentiles had a different purpose. It was intended especially as a tool for missionaries and scholars working among Jews, Muslims, and non-Christians in Spain. I thought that was quite interesting that he tried to get it to embrace all these faiths and to prove the existence of God. I thought this was interesting for a man that lived in the 13th century.
Exactly, and obviously, even those times, the fact that he was able to write it, you wonder what way did he write it? Did he write it in Latin because that was the universal language of the Catholic faith that you could communicate all over the place? Because I did Latin in school, and you I got honours in it. I was quite good at it. So I was a candidate for priesthood, if you like, but I didn't go down that road. But the Latin and it's the fact that it was considered the universal language of Catholic faith that the like of Saint Thomas Aquinas probably wrote in that, and then other ones could understand it because they would have studied it. And so it was the language of the Catholic faith. People often have different languages, like we have English now, but our ancestors spoke in Gaelic and the Irish idiom. And funny enough, there was somebody wrote a Bible in Irish for the people that spoke only Irish, and I think it was a Protestant gentleman. But it's the fact that the people that do good, and Saint Thomas Aquinas was 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 blessed that he was
Yeah,
able to develop what he developed, which is still relevant today and taught.
that's it. I think like
Same as Saint Augustine.
if you look at the Summa Contra Gentiles, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, by the way. Um, to make it easy to understand as the five ways that he also spoke about. So this particular Gentiles is in four books. Book one is God's existence and nature. Book two is creation. Book three is providence and the moral life, and then book four is mysteries of faith. So if you look at, I'll give you an example for book one. Okay, so Aquinas starts with what reason alone can show. He explains that God's existence is external, unchanging, and all powerful. He also shows why there can be only one God, not many competing gods. And then you go on to the book two, three, and four. But yeah, I must actually have see if I can find them myself somewhere. See if I can get my hands on them.
Exactly, yeah, and well, you've done a certain amount of research there that you have to congratulate you. The book one, two, three. Well, now you see, I didn't know that there was four books, and book one obviously would be a very basic and it would give a clue as to the mentality of Saint Thomas Aquinas. And you know something, it's a great gift to read somebody that wrote such such a book that's still used today. Odyssey 12, nearly 1,000 years, well, 800 years after. I mean, isn't there something there
It's incredible.
that you can treasure in some ways? And I'm certainly hope we can put our hands on book one. If you get book one, well, then that'll be enough. You could give me a lend of it when you wrote it, and if I
Book
can get
two.
something, then you don't have to get it. So
Exactly.
we won't duplicate the thing. So we'll have because it'll be a feature of Christian TV Ireland when we eventually are able to get a charity license with the experts that we're dealing with,
Yeah, I
which I
just want
hope
to,
will.
I just
Yeah,
want to go on to book two for a second because it's quite interesting. So, book two covers
yes,
creation. So, Aquinas explores the world as God's creation. He explains angels, the human soul, and the natural order. Everything comes from God, depends on Him, and has a purpose. That's book two. A little summary there for you, you
very
know.
good. Yeah, yeah, marvelous. Yeah, book
Yeah.
two. Yeah,
So then he goes on to book
have you?
three. I'll just give you a little bit of book three as well. Okay, so Aquinas explains how God not only created the world but also guides it. This is called providence. Humans are free, but their freedom fits within God's plan. The ultimate goal of human life is happiness in God. We move on to book four, Mysteries of the Faith. And this is where Aquinas moves beyond reason and uses Christian revelation. He explains the Trinity, the incarnation, God becoming man, and Jesus, the resurrection and eternal life. These truths go beyond reason and don't contradict it. So it's actually quite an interesting collection, for any bookshelf, I think.
It is. You've done great research there to actually have these books and what they and the content. So there's four books. Well, I'll be making inquiries now in bookshops because like it was grand when Veritas was operating. One could telephone them and get something, but now one has to go in a different direction, and there are religious stores and that. So I'm going to make inquiries in this coming week. Now that we've been speaking about Saint Thomas Aquinas, so as then we can have first-hand experience and quote some of them later on when we're developing it a bit more detailed than what we have done now.
Well, there you go. I mean, as I say, there's four books here, and let me see if they have them. So these are the rare books. So 125 euros for the four. This is the Gentiles collection. Very interesting. Yeah, so we'll collect those.
Where would you get them, Oliver?
They're available on Amazon.
Well, then you might be able to do that because I'm not experienced at that type of thing, and well, I'll fork out for it, sort of thing, and then we have it. It'll be part of our library, if you like, for the Christian TV Ireland. It'll be an important ingredient that we can, when we're given talks or whatever it is, to those that are not familiar with these things, we'll be able to, when we read them, we'll be very much well informed, and we can actually quote passages out of them relevant to whoever we're talking to at the time, or whatever. Well, if I'm able to do it when it comes to pass, that I'm still as active as I am now.
Very good, John Malone. I think we have an interesting read there for Christmas to look forward to.
Correct. Well, you can get them on Amazon. So I mean, that's not a bad price for such a priceless set of books.
Well, this is the thing.
I mean, they are priceless, and they. I'm looking forward to you because now that's the grand way to get them. Because I was going to have to be searching around in bookstores,
Don't
and
you
you
worry,
wouldn't know
John
what to come
Malone.
up with.
I am on top of the case.
Yeah, exactly. You're like
Sherlock
Sherlock
Holmes.
Holmes. You're on the
Mr.
you've
Holmes.
solved the problem, and with the flick of the pen and etc. and so on and so forth,
That's
suddenly
it.
to be delivered
They will be
to your
delivered promptly to John Malone's headquarters.
lovely, and we're looking forward to that.
Very good,
Looking
very good.
forward to that very much.
Yeah, these are for two very inspiring videos. I'm glad I came across them there during the week. Right.
Delighted that you did, and that we have this discussion about Saint Thomas Aquinas, and we've just covered just a certain amount, and I hope it'll whet people's appetite to go further on this, and we intend to dig deeper, and you'll be getting the 4 books. Yours truly will pay for them, and then we'll see what we when we're reading them what we might do as to help people to sort of understand the gift of their faith if they're not practicing their faith, to hopefully encourage them to seek it.
There we go. Thank you very much, Sean.
Thanks very much, Oliver.